This message comes from ADP. Whether it's a last-minute policy change or adding a new company holiday, anything can change the world of work. From HR to payroll, ADP helps businesses take on the next anything. ADP, always designing for people.
Hello, hello. I'm Brittany Luce, and you're listening to It's Been a Minute from NPR, a show about what's going on in culture and why it doesn't happen by accident. This week, we're connecting the dots between the stroke of a pen, handmade biscuits, and late-night Truth Social posts. I know. How are all of these things connected? Well, we're going to find out with NPR's White House correspondent, Danielle Kurtzleben, and MSNBC Morning Joe co-host, Jonathan Lemire. Danielle, Jonathan, welcome to It's Been a Minute.
Glad to be here.
Always happy to be here.
Would you rather be caught up in a tornado or a hurricane?
Hurricane.
Also hurricane.
Interesting. I choose tornado. Maybe that's just because of where I'm from, the Midwest. And I would just go down into the basement and stick there as long as I can. But I think we can all agree that the past few weeks have felt almost as overwhelming as natural disaster with the amount of news there has been to cover and follow. Sometimes it feels like I am drowning in information, and that feeling might be by design. Let's get into it. We are a little over 2 weeks into the new administration, and President Trump has signed at least 45 executive orders with a stroke of his pen, addressing all manner of American life and government, from the military to K-12 education. And it's happening kind of rapid fire. Before you can understand what one executive order means and how it might impact you, bam, another 3 decisions have been made, and you are stuck between Googling what tariffs are and making sure you can still access your health care. But what if I told you that this strategy had a name that's been circling since before Trump 2.0? Back in 2019, former chief strategist for the first Trump administration, Steve Bannon, told Frontline PBS that Trump's real opposition wasn't the Democrats, it was the media. Because they're dumb.
And they're lazy. They can only focus on one thing at a time. All we have to do is flood the zone.
Flood the zone. As in, hit the American people with such an overwhelming barrage of government action that we don't know where to look or what to address first. We got a taste of this strategy in the first Trump presidency, but this time it seems to be in overdrive. And let me just say, it's working on me. I am overwhelmed. But will this strategy work at getting the president's agenda accomplished? So first, I want to know, what's the immediate effect of flooding the zone? And why does it feel so different this time? Danielle, we'll start with you.
To me, the immediate effect, from the standpoint of the media, is creating a massive amount of confusion and sometimes decision paralysis, I think, in newsrooms about not just what to cover, but how much to cover it. Think about, for example, what Trump just said about the U.S. taking over Gaza.
The U.S. will take over the Gaza Strip, and we will do a job with it, too. We'll own it.
Or think about something that's maybe a little less of a volatile thing, like the idea for the U.S. to buy Greenland. Are those things seriously going to happen? It's hard to see how, but if he says something that big, you have to cover it to some degree. The big question is how much to cover it. That is very, very difficult.
Jonathan, I'd love to hear from you on this. Why does it feel different this time in 2025?
It's a deliberate strategy here in 2025. We did see some of it in 2017, but there's more to it this time around. He and his aides are trying to show the American people, hey, we're hard at work, contrasting that to what they say is the inaction of the previous 4 years. But also to flood the people with so many orders and news. It's designed to disorient already sort of despondent and despairing Democratic foes, leaving them sort of so confused they don't know what to focus on. And it is our job, as just mentioned, to try to separate signal and noise. But sometimes even the noise carries meaning. For instance, the Gaza proposal, it is extremely unlikely that this would ever happen.
Right.
But Trump even raising the idea has real consequences and threatens to destabilize the region, so it can't be ignored.
I wonder, why is this strategy so difficult to counter?
In part because it is just so overwhelming. Right now, he is just generating so much and I hate to use the word content, but so much content and news, much of it very consequential, that it's hard to sift through for the media, for citizens, and for Democrats.
Yeah, I would add a bit about Democrats. I was listening in on a call from the group Indivisible earlier this week, and the kind of people who sign on to that call are highly informed, highly motivated, Democratic, or at the very least, progressive voters. Mm-hmm. And it is very clear that among the left right now, among liberals, progressives, there is that feeling of despondency. When, first of all, they don't see Democratic leadership having an effective strategy to counter this. And also, when Trump is doing unprecedented things that no one seems quite sure how to fight, for example, Elon Musk and the Treasury payment system,
right,
that very much, like both the quality and quantity of what he's doing has very much left Democrats going, we feel paralyzed.
What you witnessed on that call, on that Indivisible call, kind of it seems like it matches with what some voters are experiencing on the other end of things, feeling like there's like a lack of Democratic action or lack of action from the Democrats. I wonder, does this strategy work from a policy perspective? Like I know some of Trump's executive orders, like the challenge to birthright citizenship, have already been stopped in the courts. So how effective is this at actually accomplishing his agenda?
We do know that, first of all, this administration has had a lot of wind up for what they want to do. I mean, first of all, he was in office way back when, 2017 to 2021. There were things he tried to do back then that he couldn't. He was unsuccessful, that the court stopped, et cetera. And in that interim 4 years where he was not president, there was that thing called Project 2025. There were people at the Heritage Foundation and other conservative places mapping out, here's what we would like to do under a Trump or some other sort of conservative presidency. Now, to my mind, how effective is this policy-wise? It depends on the thing that he's signed. Birthright citizenship? Yeah, that's going to get a lot of legal challenges. That is there's flat out a constitutional amendment saying birthright citizenship is a thing, right? Mm-hmm. So there's going to be fighting over that. What is going to be interesting is what does play out in the courts.
Right.
The Trump team knows that not everything is going to work, and they're fine with that. I was talking to Trump aides last week and over the weekend about a variety of things that they've been doing, and they all acknowledge that some of this is going to get defeated. We mentioned birthright citizenship already taken a defeat in the courts. The payment freezes already has now been blocked by 2 federal judges, but some things will get through. And look, he's not the first president to want to hit the ground running. President uses his first 100 days to push as much of his agenda as he can when his political capital is at its highest. But
Right.
we've never quite seen something like this where it's just an avalanche, a fire hose. And even if, as one of his aides told me, 25, 30, 40% of it, that's it, gets done, that's still going to be consequential for the nation.
One thing I really want to add to what Jonathan said is it's not just the number of the executive orders, it's how central they are. I was at Capital One Arena on the day of inauguration, and there was a desk on that stage where he signed executive orders in front of a crowd of 20,000 screaming Trump fans.
The first is the rescissions of 78 Biden-era EOs and presidential memoranda.
You want to call it out? You want to say it? You want to say it?
Oh, if you want me to, sir.
Why don't you say what I'm signing?
Sure. The first item that President Trump is signing is the rescission of 78 Biden-era executive actions, executive orders, presidential memoranda, and others.
Oh my gosh.
As Jonathan said, the point is to show them, look, I'm doing stuff. And he has made that so central. Optics is everything with this guy, and that really just kind of puts an exclamation point on it.
And that's a great image, just very briefly, because it's not only action. It is executive action. Those orders mean something, but it's also the show. It's also the show, and that's so essential.
Yeah, I mean, there's a little bit of theater in that. It reminds me, different, but it reminds me of this fast food chain in North Carolina called Biscuitville. There's like this plexiglass room or part of the kitchen where somebody is always making biscuits by hand cutting these biscuits. I mean, they taste fine, but there's a little bit of theater added into the mix. Like it goes without saying that if you're a president, we expect that you're going to be sitting at your desk signing things. To put yourself in the middle of an arena doing it, that is a very deliberate choice. And it's definitely meant to communicate something very baldly to your constituents. You know, among those who oppose these policies, there seems to be 2 major camps of thought. Camp 1 seems to be this is all bluster and Trump has no plan. And Camp 2 seems to be, there is a very organized plan, perhaps a la, Project 2025, and this is the execution of it. How much would you say of one or the other are we experiencing right now? Are we kind of in a planless moment with Trump, or is all of this kind of going according to plan?
More than not, this time around, it is a plan. Not everything. Donald Trump still takes the Truth Social in the middle of the night, but most of this has been in the works. And it can't be overstated how this isn't their first time at this. In 2017, they were very slow in rolling out the transition. They were playing catch up, and he was surrounded by sort of the grown-ups in the room who acted as guardrails, who sort of pushed him away from some of his more incendiary impulses. None of that is true this time. He has veterans in there who were served for him in the first term. He has staffers who have spent 4 years at Project 2025 and other places, other projects to get ready for this moment. And even more than the first time around, he has a very compliant Republican Congress, House and Senate, small majorities to be sure, but they're still there. And to this point, they have shown no impetus to tell him no.
So, I think it's fair to say that the zone has been flooded. And so I wonder, what can we do to stay afloat in the flood? Like, what can we as everyday people, as news consumers, as constituents, as voters, do to kind of stay afloat in this overwhelm of information?
Personally, I realize there's an inclination among many people, especially those who oppose Trump, to tune out, to just kind of hunker down in a bubble and, read fantasy novels. And I get it. I do. But it is part of being in a democracy to be an informed citizen. I do think, though, that there is at a certain point a cutoff between being usefully informed and getting addicted to outrage. And I think it's worth it for people to think about, at what point are you learning about what's going on in the world so you can engage with the world? And at what point are you scrolling Blue Sky, Twitter, Facebook, whatever, and just getting real mad and almost enjoying that feeling? I think that those are very different things. So that is one thing I think about a lot.
Yeah, all of that is correct. I agree with. We're just definitely seeing a lot of the nation is just fatigued, tired of this last election, tired of following the news, frankly, still burned out and dealing with the after effects of the COVID pandemic, which is a topic that needs much more exploration in the years ahead. And we are seeing a lot of people simply tune out. But I can't echo it enough how important, essential it is for the health of our democracy for us to do our jobs, to try to sift through the noise and bring people the truth as best we can, but for also people to pay attention.
Yeah, I agree that this is not the time to disengage as far as letting the overwhelm take over. But yeah, it is a lot to keep up with, and we're only a few weeks in. Well, Danielle, Jonathan, I have learned so much here. Thank you both so much.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
And as a thank you, I'd like to teach you something by playing a game with you all. Can you stick around?
Happy to.
Alrighty. We'll be right back with a little game I like to call, But Did You Know? Stick around.
This message comes from NPR sponsor Saatva. Founder and CEO Ron Rudson shares why Saatva sales associates are focused on finding the perfect mattress for their customers.
At Saatva, you have a 365-day home trial. Why would we want to rush you or try to push you into something that's not right for you? We want to make sure that we guide you to the right mattress. Our team is always available to be helpful, to make sure you make the right choice.
To learn more, go to SAATVA.com/NPR.
This message comes from Charles Schwab. When it comes to managing your wealth, Schwab gives you more choices, like full-service wealth management and advice when you need it. You can also invest on your own and trade on Thinkorswim. Visit schwab.com to learn more. This message comes from NPR sponsor REI Co-op. You can't make more time, but when you opt outside, you can make the most of it. So make time for those early mornings, last-minute trips, and timeless views. For small victories, big fails, and everything in between. And when you're ready, REI has the gear, clothing, classes, and advice to help you make the most of your time out there. Visit your local REI co-op or rei.com/opt-outside. This message comes from CarMax. CarMax knows that finding the right car is all about exploring your options. like the option to shop your way on your schedule. At CarMax, you can browse, compare, and pre-qualify online, then finish up at the store, or simply start on the lot. The choice is yours, because at CarMax, you're in the driver's seat. Start the search for your next car today at CarMax, the way car buying should be.
All right. You're listening to It's Been a Minute from NPR. I'm Brittany Luce, here with NPR's Danielle Kurtzleben and The Atlantic's Jonathan Lemire. And we're going to play a little game I like to call, But Did You Know? Here's how it works. I'm going to share a story that's been making headlines this week. And as I give you some background on the story, I'll also ask you trivia related to it. But don't worry. It's all multiple choice. And the first one to blurt out the right answer gets a point. The person with the most points wins. And their prize is bragging rights. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Let's do it.
All right. To start, Super Bowl 59 will be held on Sunday, February 9th at the Caesars Superdome in New Orleans, Louisiana. This game is a rare rematch between Super Bowl 57 competitors, the Philadelphia Eagles and the Kansas City Chiefs. That Super Bowl also featured an appearance from which original Broadway dream girl singing Lift Every Voice and Sing? Was it A, Jennifer Holliday, B, Loretta Devine, or C, Sheryl Lee Ralph?
The first one, Holiday.
Danielle says Jennifer Holliday. Jonathan, what say you?
I remember a lot about that game, but not this. I'll go with B.
Loretta Devine. Well, unfortunately, you were both wrong.
Yeah, well.
The answer was C, Sheryl Lee Ralph, the original Dina in Dreamgirls. She delivered the Negro National Anthem 123 years to the date after its first public performance in 1900. How about that?
Ooh.
There you go.
All right, question number 2. One of the time-honored cultural traditions of the United States is the Super Bowl halftime show, held between the second and third quarters. In 1996, the boss, not Bruce Springsteen, but Miss Diana Ross, took over the 30th Super Bowl halftime show, finishing her routine with what stunt? A, being lifted into the sky by a helicopter. B, sinking into the ground in a sea of pyrotechnics. Or C, being carried off the field by a group of Navy SEALs.
Helicopter.
I am really lacking in my knowledge of Super Bowl musical appearances.
Same.
I'm going to say the Navy SEALs.
Okay, well, Danielle, you are absolutely right.
Really?
You did a good job with that one. Yeah, the answer. And when we were prepping this game, I did not think, I actually had the same answer as you, Jonathan. I was like, there's no way they had a helicopter that close to the ground. That seems dangerous. But the answer is A, being lifted up into the sky by helicopter. With hair blowing in the wind, Miss Ross was lifted up and out of the stadium while I Will Survive played below her. Talk about a visual.
We've hit our disco quota on this week's episode, Brittany.
I'm going to YouTube right now to see a clip.
No kidding.
Well, you know what they say? A true diva knows how to make a grand entrance and an even grander exit. All right, to recap the score, Danielle, you are at 1 point. Jonathan, you are at 0 points. Without further ado, the final question. Winner takes all. The most revered version of the Star-Spangled Banner is undoubtedly Whitney Houston's rendition for Super Bowl 35. But there's a difference between this version and the way the song is traditionally sung. What time signature did music director Ricky Minor change the anthem to? A, 3/4, B, 4/4, or C, 2/4?
4/4.
That was my guess as well. I can add that I know that she lip-synced because they were afraid.
Really?
Yes, because the crowd was going to be so loud. Remember this, of course, the backstory here is this took place during the Gulf War, and there was so much patriotism in the room, and that's why this is such an iconic moment. So I do know that they had to record it because they just thought that she wouldn't be able to hear herself because of the roar of the audience. But what time signature it was, I'm less sure.
Oh my gosh. Wow. Jonathan, first of all, you gagged me with your Whitney knowledge.
I know.
Yes. Now, Whitney did sing live, but the lip sync is what viewers at home heard, which is most of us, honestly.
Yep.
You've given the listeners something to hold on to. I have to say, you're both correct.
Hey.
The answer is 4/4. Danielle, you did get it first. The point goes to you. But
Congratulations.
On the decision to slow the anthem down, Minor, the musical director, said, "You've got to leave some room for magic." And that is where Whitney came in and really just sang from her heart. And I am inclined to agree. All right. Well, that's it for But Did You Know for this week. Congratulations to Danielle on your win. Is this the first time you've ever won? Or is this not the first time you've ever won?
No, I think it is. I think I have a pretty consistent losing streak on your show, Brittany. So
you just needed the right opponent, and you found him here today. Congratulations.
I have to say, Danielle, Jonathan, thank you both so much for joining me today. It was great to have you both.
Thank you.
Of course. Thank you.
That was NPR's Danielle Kurtzleben and MSNBC Morning Joe co-host Jonathan Lemire. This episode of It's Been a Minute was produced by
Corey Antonio Rose.
This episode was edited by
Jasmine Romero.
Our executive producer is
Verilyn Williams.
Our VP of programming is
Yolanda Sanguini.
All right, that's all for this episode of It's Been a Minute from NPR. I'm Brittany Luce. Talk soon.
This message comes from Intuit. Why is Intuit Enterprise Suite a better solution for growing businesses? It provides powerful financial management and accounting capabilities integrated with payments processing, payroll, HR, marketing, third-party apps, and more. Through powerful automation and insights, it helps you manage one or more businesses in one place. Visit intuit.com/enterprise to learn more. Money Movement Services by Intuit Payments, Inc., licensed by NYDFS.
This message comes from NPR sponsor Dana-Farber Cancer Institute, changing lives everywhere. Their scientists played a substantial role in developing more than half the cancer drugs approved by the FDA. Danafarber.org/everywhere. Data from 2018 to 2022.
This message comes from NPR sponsor Vuori, a new perspective on performance apparel. Check out the latest Dream Knit collection by visiting vuori.com/NPR for 20% off your first purchase. Exclusions apply. Visit the website for full terms and conditions.